3411?
Yeah, that's right, Prabhu.
Okay, good. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 4, Text 11. Sutta Vacha iti upamatrito rajya gunanu katate hare Hṛṣīkeśa manusmitya vasudeva prativaktam prachakrame. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupāda Ki Jai. Sutta Goswami said, when Shukadeva Goswami was thus requested by the king to describe the creative energy of the personality of Godhead, he then systematically remembered the master of the senses, Sri Kṛṣṇa, and to reply properly, he spoke thus. Purport. The devotees of the Lord, while delivering speeches and describing the transcendental attributes of the Lord, do not think that they can do anything independently. They think that they can speak only what they are induced to speak by the Supreme Lord, the Master of the senses. The senses of the individual being are not his own. The devotee knows that such senses belong to the Supreme Lord and that they can be properly used when they are employed for the service of the Lord. The senses are instruments and elements are ingredients, all endowed by the Lord. Therefore, whatever an individual can do, speak, see, etc., is under the direction of the Lord only. The Bhagavad Gita confirms this. Sarvasya jaham hridi sanivisto matasmitagana bodham cha. No one is free to act freely and independently, and as such, one should always seek the permission of the Lord to act or to eat or to speak. And by the blessing of the Lord, everything done by a devotee is beyond the principles of the 4 defects typical of the conditioned soul. Umagyantamedandasya Gyanana Shalakya Chakshunitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gada Mayam Nidati Swavedati Kam Vanchakapatadu Vischa Kripasinnu Vyevacha Patitanam Pavani Vyo Vaishavyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Kṛṣna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gauda Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is the symptom of sincerity before taking any task. Doesn't matter how qualified one is, such like as Shukadeva Goswami. He is the most qualified, even amongst great sages like Narada, Vyas, the universal assembly of great thinkers. He was chosen to speak the Bhagavatam to Pariksha Maharaj. And even he is trying to get the mercy of the Lord before trying to recite the descriptions of Krishna. So yes, we see this also with Śrīla Prabhupāda, always praying. One time, they told the Prabhupada was asked, Prabhupada, I think it was asked by a reporter, will you ever fall down? He goes, no, I will never fall down. No. Are you a pure devotee? Yes. He would answer in this way. It seems like arrogant. And then at the next moment, when taking darshan of the deities, it seemed like he was praying very intensely. So the disciple asked, Prabhupada, what were you praying for? And he was praying, I was praying to the Lord that I never fall down. And this is Prabhupada speaking. You know, he's demonstrated more than enough examples that he is 100% a lover, sold out to the plan of Krishna. But even he is praying, may I never fall down. So what to speak of us conditioned souls who are sadhakas, struggling up and down, dealing with the material energy, sometimes making it, sometimes not. Just it's not hitting the mark in terms of our consciousness of being pure and without any motivation or interruption towards service to the Lord. So here we see Śrīla Goswami, the great devotees are always praying. So we need to also practice this prayerful mood. And actually, if you were to analyze the morning program that we do in the temple, it's all just praying, the whole thing. You're just begging for mercy from 4:30 to 8:30, 9 o'clock. You're just begging for mercy. You know, we start off with a prayers to the spiritual master, then prayers to the Supreme Lord, then Lord Nishingadev for protection. Again, prayers to Śrīla Prabhupāda, the founder Acharya. Again, prayers again to the Supreme Lord Govinda Mari Purusham Tamaham Majami. Actually, this is a very powerful prayer. We kind of just like use it as a ritual, you know. It's like, but it's a really good ritual in a sense. Like, say every time we hear this like ding ding ding, the beginning of the Govindam prayers, you know, you straight away want to fall down, bow down to Krishna. You know, even if there's no deities, you just feel like, oh, maybe I should bow down. It brings you to your knees, and that's a good thing for, so you know, for someone who thinks he's so great, a conditioned soul, to be brought down to their knees. And obviously, so those who do not like accept Krishna and think they're independent, they are forced by death, by the material energy. So you might as well do it voluntarily because it's going to happen anyway. And then when it's done, one feels safe, secure, and their path is certain. This is the nature of bhakti, or surrendering to Krishna. Here it's said, we address Krishna as Hṛṣīkeśa, as the master of the senses. So these senses don't belong to us, which is quite profound in a way. This body just pretty much a bag of senses. And we really feel like, you know, they're our own and to be used as we like, you know, unconsciously. We don't think like, oh, is this okay for me to see, to hear, to taste, to touch? We don't think of it. If we feel like it, if the senses feel like, we go for it. We never think that, oh, this is Krishna's property and I should use it for his purpose. It's very hard to think that way. Maybe in terms of an object, you know, that may happen. But even sometimes we neglect that because it's Krishna's, we don't have to take care of it. Just look in any temple room and you'll see the harmonium is always broken. But then someone's harmonium at home, my harmonium, wow, very, very nice. It's all tuned and still like, you know, solid and working fine. Not saying anything bad about temple management or anything like that. Just saying that it's just a mentality that we possess. So in the same way, these senses need to not only be used for Krishna's purpose, but also protected and nourished for Krishna's purpose. Enough sleep, eating enough, exercise, and yes, and somehow use them in such a way that's pleasing to Krishna. This is the nature of the devotees. The impersonalists, they try to neglect the senses, the mind, even the self, trying to, because they can see the problem of like giving into the senses or the activities of the senses, described as like serpents. if you were in a room of snakes, you wouldn't move, because whatever moves, they'll just bite at it. So our senses work the same way, ready to sink their teeth into some sense gratification. So the impersonalists are like, okay, these senses are no good, let's just restrict them altogether. So obviously we don't adhere to such a philosophy, because they think that the Lord doesn't have any form or senses. They don't think the self has any form or senses. So what does that mean? That means you can't offer bhoga to Krishna. That means you cannot take Mahaprasada. So if you want to be an impersonalist, say goodbye to Mahaprasada. What a life. It's not worth it. So, yes, we are relishing Mahaprasadam again and again, even to the point to like a competition. Prasadam is a wonderful activity of the devotees, especially when it comes to gulab jamans, competitions, how many gulab jamans you can eat, even to the point of throwing gulab jamans and devotees are catching it in their mouth. Great ecstasy, great devotion. So this rendering service with the senses to Krishna, our senses, the soul is part and parcel of Krishna. Even our senses are part and parcel of Krishna's senses. So the idea of pleasing oneself is by pleasing the senses of Govinda. This is the meaning of Govinda, one who gives pleasure of the senses. So it's not like we sit back and he does everything, but we are fully engaging the senses to its nth degree in serving Krishna. And one feels blissful. If you're an advanced devotee, when they take darshan, it's not just, okay, sorry, okay, getting a bit bored now, let's go. No, they can stand there for hours on end. They get so absorbed in the different limbs of the body of Krishna, the lotus feet, how beautiful they are, how merciful they are, what they have done in Vrindavan, what they did to Kaliya. Straight away, it takes you into pastimes and one gets absorbed. The different jewels that the Lord is wearing, the peacock feather, it's iridescent. We just learned this word, iridescent. It means that the peacock feather, when you see from different angles, it changes color. And even Krishna's skin color, this sham, it's a spiritual color. It's not of this world. Like the monsoon cloud with this blue shimmer. How beautiful is Krishna? His lotus eyes and what he does with his eyes, how just by his sidelong glance, just, bewilders the damsels of Vrindavan. His delicate fingers, the webbing between his fingers are described as very fine or gentle. His chest is like a doorway, and he has legs that are like elephant trunks. I don't know how you have thighs like that, but he has. So when we think of these, the different, we look at his fingers and then we think of the left pinky that picked up Govardhan playing his delicate flute, and then his flute, he has different types of flute with jewels encrusted into him, and then his lotus lips, of course, the nectar that devotees are always trying to relish, either through like the gopis kissing his lotus lips, or we get the nectar from Krishna's lotus lips from the Bhagavad Gita. So we can see how by engaging all the senses, by hearing, by seeing, by tasting, if you're, using your sense of touch or the physical body to do physical service, any cook will say they don't feel hungry after cooking. They're so satisfied. They feel enlivened so much. Especially if you're cooking with many burners and your mind is fully absorbed. Okay, which one's next? And you're just thinking, oh, I hope Krishna likes this. So we can see everything from the senses through all the elements that come from the presiding senses, from for From water, we get taste. From fire, we get sight. From earth, we get smell. From ether, we get the sense of hearing. And from the air, we get the sense of touch. It's all connected, and it's all emanating from Krishna, this energy. And this is the process of yoga, to connect the energy back to the energetic. This is the way that the jiva becomes fulfilled. And pretty much this is what the chanting of Hare Krishna is. O energy of Krishna, O Krishna, all attractive, please engage me in your service. What is that service? It's actually bringing Radha and Krishna together. Everything is the energy of Lord, including Srimati Radharani. And then Krishna is that enjoyer. And we trying to imitate Radha and Krishna, we can never enjoy. This leads to suffering. This leads to us being an illusion, because that can never exist, to be the enjoyer. But to assist that love between Radha and Krishna, to be part of that amazing festival of loving dealings that just inundates so many, overflowing, Anandam Buddhi Vadana. This is what satisfies the jiva. This is what's the Adi Rasa. This is the pure sex life, not the imitation one of the material world. Everyone is chasing that. It's like, it's capturing everyone in the material world, because it's the perverted reflection of that between Radha and Krishna. So the chanting of the holy name, this Saṅkīrtana movement, is actually fulfilling the heart of the jiva. So in order to do that, we need to beg blessings from the previous devotees, the previous acharyas. We need to beg blessings of Radha and Krishna, or Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's the combined form of Radha and Krishna, to please Radha and Krishna in the form of Lord Chaitanya by doing Harinam Sankirtan. And in this way, we will not be caught up in the 4 defects of the conditioned soul. Just to revise, the 4 defects is that we have imperfect senses. Because we have imperfect senses, we receive imperfect information. So the second defect is, because of the imperfect information, you commit mistakes. And because you commit mistakes, you want to hide your mistakes. So the third defect is that you have to cheat. You have to cheat either yourself and others. For example, identifying with the body. It's due to misinformation, due to imperfect senses. Yeah, this is who I am. Due to the misinformation, then you make mistakes of trying to be happy in this world. Then you don't want to show that you're losing the battle, losing the game. So then you cheat either yourself and others. Yeah, I'm so happy. Yeah, you're doing good. Yeah, suffering is part of life. It actually, makes you appreciate the happy time. And then, such a compromise. And then the 4th defect is, because you believe your lies, you're an illusion. So this is the cycle the conditioned soul is going through constantly. But we can see Chetadapana Marginal, Vijuvada Jivanam, the life of all transcendental knowledge, cleansing the consciousness of all its misconceptions. This is the Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtan. This is exactly how we please Radha and Krishna in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by performing the Yugadhamma Harinam Sankirtan. So anytime there's a kirtan, anytime there's a Harinam, don't hesitate. This will save you. This will enliven you so much. Don't listen to the propaganda of the mind, the senses, and Kali. Don't listen to Kali. Kali doesn't want Harinam to go on, doesn't want you to chant, wants to keep you in the grips of his domain. Let's break out of the darkness, and let's follow the advice and of Srīmad Bhāgavatam. So you always engage in the glorification, Lord. Harinama Anukirtana. So I'll stop here. If anyone has any comments or questions, you can ask.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for the wonderful class. Prabhu, you mentioned about how our senses belong to Krishna and they should be used in service of Krishna. So yes, we now know this theoretically, but what happens is the senses are so powerful that whenever they get in touch with the sense objects, they either have a very good experience or a very bad experience. But then at that moment, the experience of that engagement with that object overpowers us. And sometimes we forget about, to look at that experience from service point of view in connection with Krishna. And sometimes we just respond as a reflex reaction. So for example, if someone's eating and they like the gulab jamuns, they will tend to eat a lot more without thinking that they have to get up in the morning or they have to look after their health. And the other way around, someone says a harsh word to us, it's displeasing to the ears, and one doesn't respond with the sense that that person is part and parcel of Krishna. The person responds, I didn't like that words in my ear and I'm going to give it back. So how do you, Prabhu, how do we come out of this cycle of responding as a reflex instead of, always having this pause and thinking in from this perspective that you're explaining today?
To my mic. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Prabhu, we can hear you again now.
Okay, great. So, oh no, something up to the mic. Okay, good. So, yes, this is very common. It happens to all of us, even practicing devotees. And that's why this service of prayer is so important. If we were to practice it more often, it would serve us very well. I remember reading a purport saying that one cannot control the senses without the mercy of the Lord. And then I was like, okay. Then I asked one brahmachari who was serving His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj. And usually when you're serving a pure devotee, and it's very intense, it's ongoing, then you get purified very quickly. And many of your material desires come to the forefront of your consciousness, and then you have to deal with it. Either you can keep going with your service, or you will have to take a little detour and deal with these material desires. For a brahmachari, that can mean like getting married or going to Maya, whatever it could be, just to, deviate a little bit. And I go, how do you deal with that? Because you're so close to this devotee, pure devotee, and you're fully engaged. How do you deal with that? And he says, I don't think about it. I'm just too busy serving. And I was like, oh, that's not an answer. But then I remember, yasya prasada bhagavat prasada yasya prasada nagati gatopi. Yes, to get the mercy of the Lord, one needs to get the mercy of the spiritual master. So the spiritual master has given us instructions to safeguard us from deviating. And lust, it doesn't necessarily refer only to sex, but it can refer to any desire that's not consistent with the pleasure of the Lord. So if we're busy in serving Krishna, then that doesn't happen. That's one way to get through it. Also, this act of prayer, this can be done at any moment, at any time. We just need to practice it as like a constant reminder. So actually, we're going to come to the point where we're going to pray 24/7, actually. That's kind of what we're doing. With everything we do, it says here, even with every act, You know, I mean, like before you start the car, Jai Nishingadev kind of thing. You know, before you eat with Sarya Vijajo, it's a prayer. It's not something that's haphazard. And what to speak of speaking about the absolute truth? Who are we to speak on the absolute truth? Then we get Om Gyan Tibadandasya Gyana Shalakya Chakshumlitam Yena Tasmi Shri Gurave Namaha. It always brings us back to our true position of humility. And we can do that anytime to stop. And your beads, you know, sometimes we tell like Westerners, these are our prayer beads, you know. But sometimes we use the japa as like, you know, the checklist, like the burden that's on my head that I got to get it done so I don't feel guilty for the rest of the day. No, it's an opportunity to be with Krishna and actually pray and beg for mercy. Like, I can't control my senses. I know this material world is unforgiving and is always trying to distract me from you. As I go about my day, you please help me stop to remember you, to be engaged in your service. So this is like some precautions, but obviously things happen. So what do you do then? The mind is a funny thing. And I remember one Scottish devotee was describing the segments of the sequence of what the mind goes through. So he described of like being like a Saṅkīrtana devotee, and then you're up in the early morning and there's like a bakery and you smell this fresh bread. Oh wow, I wish I could have that, you know. And yeah, they have egg in it, but you know, your senses say something else. And the mind says, yeah, you know, you're still devotee, just try, you know. It's not big, it's not a fall down, you know, you got to be practical. You're on Saṅkīrtana anyway, you know. So he's like, yeah, okay. So he listens to the mind, goes in, buys it, starts eating it. And then after engaging in it, then the mind switches on him. It's like, oh, puts this guilt trip. You look what you've done. You're not even a real devotee, you know, couldn't even control your senses. How useless are you? You know, here you are pretending to be a devotee, just parading yourself. Now look at you. You're just as bad. You're even worse than the karmis. I think the karmis, they don't know what are the rules and regulations, but you know, and you still did it. You might as well just give up, you know, just like stop practicing. Just why would you continue? And then you just never go back, you know, you feel too guilty. So this is the enemy that we're dealing with of the mind. You know, he's like suggest, yeah, you're cool. He's like, and then you get into it, and then it's like, ah. So I don't know if you felt that before, but this is the enemy we're dealing with. But no, we're not dealing with the enemy. We want to deal with our best friend, Suridam Savade. You know, we want to deal with Krishna. And what's Krishna's mood? If you were to think about your life, actually, out of all your relationships, it doesn't matter how abominable you are, how bad you are. Krishna is the only one that will still continue to love you and want to have a relationship with you. Like you could do something to your friends, they're ready to cut you off. Even you see in families, like children, like renounce the, you know, they want emancipation from their parents, or parents, they're just like, I disown you kind of thing. You know, at school, we have a relationship with the teacher. Once you finish, we don't even call the teacher anymore. Some do. But majority don't. Even like say if you work for a boss, you have a relationship. Then once you don't work for that company, you don't call them, you don't feel the need to. The relationship's cut off. So even like you do the most craziest thing, still Krishna wants to love you and wants to build a relationship with you. He's always ready to connect. This is the type of person we're dealing with. And we can pray to him. I'm sorry. I felt I didn't do the right thing, but I know you can pick me up. I'm going to try and chant your name. I'm going to try and come to the temple. I'm going to try and take some prasadam. I still want to be a devotee, but I need your help. And then this constant prayer is the strength that, it's the sincerity that Krishna is reciprocating with. And we have that opportunity, especially with our japa, within our hearts, just pray. And if you have deities, we can do that too. Even the Bhagavatam, we can pray to the Bhagavatam. Please help me. And then just turn the page and you'll see the Bhagavatam will help you. So we have many shelters as a devotee, whether we're super devotees or on the fringe or going in and out of the movement. At least we have an option to take shelter, because those who are not devotees or who have no knowledge of what Prabhupada is offering us, the only shelter is intoxication or suicide. Literally, how much it's going on in Australia, it's crazy nowadays. Even as young as like 10 years old. So it doesn't matter how far away from Krishna we may deviate, but we have an opportunity, an option to connect back and be reinstated, even to the point of being a liberated soul beyond the defects of a conditioned soul. So big answer. I hope I covered all bases, or some of them.
Yes, Prabhu, that was very comprehensive. Thank you for giving us these tips on how to manage this. I think we're going to need these instructions going forward.
It's a nice question. It's very practical. Reality. Anyone else? Okay.
Prabhu, I've got one more question, if you don't
Sure.
mind. So the Prabhupada mentions this verse, Sarvasya Chaham Hriti Sannavishto, that Krishna gives remembrance from within. And a similar verse to this is where Krishna says, Dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. So on this, I heard recently in a lecture, I'm trying to recall where I heard that to non-devotees, Krishna responds based on ye yatha mam prapadyante. So as they surrender, Krishna reciprocates. But to devotees, Krishna personally, he just doesn't do ye yatha mam prapadyante. He personally intervenes and gives them dadami buddhi yogam tam, by the knowledge by which they can come to him. So just wanted you to comment or share your thoughts on that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, this Mata Smriti Jnana Ponancha, it's like, even to forget, we need the mercy of Krishna. There's no way where we don't need help. So it's quite interesting in that way. And in terms of this Tesham Satata Yuktanam Bhajatam Pritipurvikam Dadami Buddha Yogatam Yanamamupiyantite, the one who are devotee and always engaging in my devotional service with affection, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So when we do devotional service, even if they're not a devotee, that one act of service actually continues to act and purify and work in the consciousness of the living entity. And it has to drag them to another point of further service. Actually, we had an amazing experience yesterday. Can I say it? It will take about 5 minutes. Is it okay?
Sure, probably.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm traveling in the van. You saw me in the morning yesterday. And so that was like 7:30. And so I had some rounds, did it before the class, and then continued on. And then Jagannath Sutta was cooking khichdi, and people who live in that area, they're walking past with their dogs. And one lady we just started about to have prasadam, khichdi. And this lady, very smiling, she goes, "Oh, what's happening here?" I go, "I'm having breakfast, and would you like some?" And we gave her a little khichdi. She was very happy. And she goes, "You're Hare Krishnas?" I go, "Yeah." "Oh, a friend of mine's son was into Hare Krishna, and he passed away 1 year ago. His name's David. And I was like, oh, this is Chaitanya Dev. And she goes, yeah, his parents just live here. And I was like, oh, wow, that's a great connection. And then Chaitanya Dev's father starts walking past all of a sudden. He's just riding on his bike, and he's good friends with this lady named Michelle. And he's like, yeah, my name's Tony, I'm Dave's father. I'm like, oh my God, it's like the heart dropped, it's like, this is, because I was thinking that this spot where we camped was given, the advice was given by Chaitanya Dev himself the year before. So it was, as I was chanting, I was kind of thinking about him and what was happening. And actually, Chaitanya Dev's father, he met Prabhupada, in the 70s. When he came, he heard him speak at the Melbourne Town Hall, and he was like there, never didn't come like full on devotee, but he met Prabhupada, it was like far out. Very nice man. And then this first lady who was having kids, oh wow, this is amazing, the spices, this and that. Actually, my son and his girlfriend are staying at my home, and the girlfriend is a vegetarian. Let me call her and tell her, the Hare Krishna's here with some vegetarian food. So this couple comes, they get into the kitchery, and they're loving it. It's like, yeah, vegetables, it has that big spice, it's like, if you're gonna have vegetarian, go Indian. And the young man wasn't a vegetarian, but he would cook vegetarian because of the girlfriend. And he was very impressed by, and he knew so much about Indian cooking, about ghee, about chana dal. It's like, yeah, ghee, that's why the cow is so sacred. It's like worshipable, because from milk we can get so many, like paneer. He'll say paneer, like Aussie guy. It's like, how does he know all this stuff? And and then then the mother of Chaitanya Dev arrived, and she was just so happy to see us. She gave us like the biggest hugs you could imagine. And she also had some khichdi, and she was like very, very happy to taste it. And we're remembering Chaitanya Dev. And then she gave like this huge donation out of nowhere. And so we just like packed up stacks of books to just give to everyone who was there. Another young man came across who was related, and he was just enamored by the van and all the pictures inside and all the books that are there and our journey and where we're going. And he was like a musician. He's like, yeah, I used to play in country pubs. And it was such a sweet interaction, the whole thing. And we had Gauranga Maharaj there, so they got his association. Nitai Padakama Jagannath Sutta was cooking this super khichdi, and he cooked so much. It wasn't like meant for 4 people; it was meant for like 10, and 10 came. And we were just heading to Surface that day, and we were gonna have lunch there. So there was a little bit left, and we said, "Would you like to take it away?" And they were so happy, so touched by it, and because Chaitanya Dev's mother gave such a big donation, so we just piled all these books and just gave it for free to whoever was there. We gave away like something like, these stacks had like 10, 15 books each, just as many as possible. And yeah, it was just like, we couldn't plan it better, actually. Krishna was so amazing in that way. And oh yeah, one more thing before they left, they asked, is it rude? Is it rude that we ask you, could we do some chanting? I'm like, what? Okay. Pulled out all the instruments. Maharaj was leading the kirtan, and we started dancing around the tables, and they really got into it. It was so much fun, and such an amazing connection. And I was just thinking in terms of like, yes, you're saying like, yeah, yata pabantante tamsache vajami ham, and also the station satata yuktanam, that the service goes on and it affects others. Chaitanya Dev's service is still going on now. The fact that he told us about that place You know, even like the mother knew about what Chaitanya Dev was into. He's like, yes, my son loves Harinam. Like she'll say like this, and he was always like, every Christmas he would cook a big feast for everyone. So it was kind of like Prasadam and Harinam was this thing, and just to make that connection again. And in a place like Coffs Harbour where we don't really have a center, and we started thinking, it's like, yeah, why don't we, like, because the Chaitanya Dev's parents are quite involved in the community, so why don't we just hold like a memorial festival for Chaitanya Dev, and they can invite everyone. We can cook prasadam, we can do kirtan, we can have talks, we can have like small little ceremony, you know, I don't know, just like to remember and prayers for Chaitanya Dev. It would be nice, you know, as a means to preach and make this loving connection with his parents. And then Chaitanya Dev's memory won't be in vain, you know. And then if we do this, like, yes, you know, it's for sure that Chaitanya Dev will come closer to Krishna. Krishna hasn't forgotten him. So, I mean, that was like magical. I'm still in shock about what happened. It was just like in the morning, we didn't even start our day, and so much was achieved, you know. It was crazy. And we're connected with them. We're trying to get them on our Bhagavad Gita reading group. And yeah, Coffs Harbour is a happening place, like Central Coast or whatever. I mean, we should have a center there and we should do something. So I was just thinking, yes, Tadami Bodhiyamatam, it's like, yes, also expanding the service is going on. So yes, as we serve Krishna, he reciprocates by giving us more service and a deeper feeling of Krishna's presence in our lives. So that's what came up from your question. I hope it covered.
Yes, Prabhu, thank you for sharing this real life experience. Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, I definitely went over time. Sorry about that. I guess you're the diehards sticking around. Thank you so much. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda. All glories to Srīmad Bhāgavatam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.